Hey guys, and in today's video we shall be reviewing the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Batman Earth 1. Stay tuned. So before we get started, we're just going to hand things over to Packaging Guy to take a quick look at the box. Okay, so on the front you have the usual McFarlane DC Multiverse style packaging. However, as you can see, the figure is very cramped inside. I'm gobsmacked and baffled why they couldn't have just given a bigger box. On the side you've got Batman Earth 1, DC Multiverse, and on the other side you have Batman Earth 1, Dark Knight's Metal, whatever. And then you have McFarlane Toys logo, 22 moving parts, points, articulates, and different languages. On the bottom you've got some legal gift gaff and boring stuff no one will read. There's the barcode if you guys want it. And then on the back you have this very nice picture of the figure, or more like the character that he's based off, and some other figures available to collect in the line. Jack isn't paying me enough for this. Sorry about this, guys. Packaging Guy isn't in a great mood today, but without any further ado, let's get this guy out the box. And before we get on to the figure itself, we'll just go over very quickly the items that he comes with. He does come with a standard DC Multiverse display stand, which you can use to display the figure on if you so wish. There you have the DC logo, faintly imprinted on the front, and the little peg for you to clip onto the foot. However, I personally think that this figure stands completely fine due to its weight and mass, but it's up to you if you want him in some more exotic poses. Another thing he does come with, as all the McFarlane DC Multiverse figures do, is the card. As you can see, very nice picture of the character on the front there. I've never read the comic and most likely never will, but here's a brief description of the character. You can pause the video now if you want to read. And without any further ado, let's get on to the figure himself. So, you're probably wondering, why have I bought this figure if I've never read the comic? Well, because I think he looks absolutely awesome. That's really what it comes down to. I mean, I don't think there is a figure quite like this. Now, this figure did have a re-release in a 2-pack with Superman, which I thought was awesome, and kind of annoyed that I didn't wait for it. But upon seeing reviews, I think the paint wasn't as good as it is on this figure. So I'm actually quite glad I got this one. Plus, I can always just pick up the Supermans separately. So we'll start off with having a look at the head. I mean, look at this. I think from what I understand, it's meant to be Batman that's injected himself with the Doomsday virus. So he's kind of become a Doomsday Batman. But yeah, look at that. Very awesome paint job. And this figure is absolutely gigantic in width, but not in height, which confuses me. As I said, this is in standard packaging as any other DC figure, and I'm kind of thinking, shouldn't this be bigger? But you could say this is a good thing because it keeps the price the same as any other one. But my god, and this guy weighs a ton. Like, he is really heavy compared to most figures. A lot of people said that they had a problem with him standing because he has a tendency to fall over. Honestly, if you're like me and you're good at displaying figures, as long as you just get the feet flat and then you get a good center of gravity with the toy, you'll have no trouble whatsoever of it falling over. So on the front, I believe that's meant to be like a sort of distorted version of the Bat logo. As you can see, thank God his pants didn't rip. They must be super elastic. You've got all these nice textures and details. That's actually incredible. On the back you can see like the bits of fabric from the clothes where they used to have been. You've got all of these excess rock, I suppose, growing out of him. But this texture here, that is so rough and really quite sharp, actually. You wouldn't want to get hit over the head with this thing. See, you've got these rocks here are more of a soft rubber, just to be safe, I suppose. They are quite flexible. But yeah, that is really, really awesome. And then down here, you've got much more of the fabric wrapped around the legs. You have the nice, a nice darker grey wash over the light grey plastic, just to really highlight some of those details. And the articulation is very well hidden. You know, the joints don't look out of place. They haven't been painted in a different colour. They blend into the figure quite nicely. And then you've got these really nasty feet. They've got all these rocks coming out of them. And very grubby. But sorry to those of you who don't like feet. But yeah, oh, that face. And I love the eyes. I love the way the eyes have been painted red, but there's a slight red wash around the eyelids, so it just kind of gives it that look as though the eyes are actually glowing, which is very, very cool. He's got very long fingernails. He has a grabbing hand, and then he has the hand like he's going for the punch, which is very cool. Yeah. He's just a great guy to have on the shelf, and, you know, I'm not too ashamed to admit it. Sometimes I do play with my toys because I'm sad and life is very difficult, so sometimes I just need to play with toys to bring some joy into it. But, yeah, he is just a very cool figure to have, and although I may never read the comic or fully understand the context of who the character is, I just think he's very, very awesome. He's so different and he stands out very much on the shelf. If you guys have watched my really old videos where I show off my action figures on the shelf, then you'll have probably seen him in the background. Green Goblin was actually displayed on top of him for some reason. So, we'll get into the articulation. The head can do a full 360 because it's on a ball joint, but you want to be careful, don't pop it off accidentally. It can also pivot from side to side. It can look forward and he can look up because the joint is here, so there's a ball joint here and the head just kind of sits on there, so it can rotate really well. The jaw can open, which reveals a very horrible looking tongue inside. I just wish maybe they'd given the tongue a bit of paint, but it's okay. And yeah, that opens and closes. You can actually see, what's funny is you can actually see the tongue in the neck, but I understand why they had to do that. And then you have a full rotation at the shoulder, and also can come out to slightly outwards, but it is hindered by the sculpting on the shoulders, and that is the same for both arms. Surprisingly, it does have a butterfly joint, so it can go forward and back slightly, but it's very stiff, and it hasn't got much manoeuvring space to do so. There is a bend at the arm, so you can bring the arm in and out. There's also a rotation at the arm there, just below the muscles. You have a rotation at the hand, and then you also have an up and down ratchet joint, so you can move the hand up and down. This is the same for both arms. You have ab crunch joints, so you can push him back. You can push him forward slightly, but the sculpting of his muscles does hinder that. You can also rotate full 360. There is also another rotation at the top of the waist, so double rotation, and also you can pivot from side to side. His leg can come forward slightly, but is hindered by the rubber pants. You have a bend at the knee, only ever so slightly again because of the sculpting. And then lastly, his feet are on ratchet joints, and they can go down and up quite far, quite impressively. And then there is also a toe joint, which enables his toes to come right the way up and then completely flat. So when posing and displaying this figure, you have got quite a lot of options, which is really good. It's amazing how much articulation they've worked into the toy. Oh, also there is a rotation at the top of the leg as well. I probably won't be able to get him to stand now because he's off. But yeah, it's amazing how much articulation they've actually worked into this figure. Very, very cool. Like, as I said, I don't really know what I'd do with it. I just think it's a very, very cool thing to have. And if you guys haven't got him, I would recommend that you track him down, just because of how cool he is. So yeah. Really down to personal preference, really. But I would love if Marvel Legends would make a Sandman figure quite like this, like a really buff and bulky one that you could put your Spider-Man figure in front of and have a big battle with it. That would be amazing. So yeah. Overall, what do I think of the figure? Well, I think it's great. I think I would give it a solid 8 out of 10. As I said, I've never read the comic. I've never, you know, really known the character, but when I saw this figure announced and I saw people reviewing it, I just thought that would be an awesome thing to have. So I'm sorry I can't really express my utter delight with it, but it's purely because I don't really understand it as much as I probably should. But I think he's great. I think he'd be very good to display with other Batman figures, and if you're going for a complete collection, well, must have, really. As I said, compared to the version that was released in the 2-pack with Superman, his paint is a lot better. I believe that these have been painted much darker, and also he has a nice darker wash over him, which for some reason he doesn't have on the other versions. So yeah, I'd say if you are going to pick up one version, definitely go for this one. So that does it for this review, guys. I hope you liked it. It's something different, something to take a look at. And please leave a comment down below what you thought. Stay safe and happy wherever you are in the world, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.